For thousands of years, the shifting dust of the Sahara Desert and the deep blue waters of the Mediterranean have conspired to keep some of humanity's greatest creations hidden. Hidden not by intention, but by time. We are familiar with the grandeur of the Great Pyramid of Giza. We recognize the mystery of the Valley of the Kings. These places have become symbols, icons repeated so often they almost feel permanent. But there is another question, one we rarely pause to ask. What happened to the cities, where life once surged every morning, where markets roared with voices, where decisions were made that shaped the ancient world itself? The great cities, the super cities of antiquity. Where did they go? Tonight, I invite you to step with me through a veil of dust and centuries. This is not a journey through ruins alone. It is a search for something more fragile and more profound. The spirit of 5 cities, that history quietly erased. In some of these locations, I have stood where the ground was only recently uncovered. Stone surfaces untouched for millennia, still holding the chill of the earth, still carrying the weight of forgotten footsteps. In moments like that, the past does not feel distant, it feels close, almost present. What you are about to hear is not always taught in classrooms, not always written in guidebooks. Some truths were buried intentionally, others simply faded as empires fell and the world moved on. So take a breath, slow your thoughts, because what lies ahead may change how you see history, how you see cities, and how you understand the idea of disappearance. This is not just a story about what was lost. It is a story about how easily even the greatest human achievements can slip into silence. And once they do, only those willing to listen will ever hear them again. Our first destination is not found on land. It lies beneath it, 10 meters below the surface, in Abu Qir Bay, just off the coast near modern Alexandria. The sea appears calm, ordinary, almost forgettable. But below that surface, the seabed tells a different story. Before Alexandria was founded, in 331 BCE, before it became the intellectual heart of the ancient world, Egypt had only one true gateway to Greek civilization. A city where ships arrived, where languages blended, where rituals and trade shaped first impressions. Its name was Tharnis Heracleion. For centuries, it existed only as a whisper, mentioned briefly in faded inscriptions, referenced in fragmented texts, never fully described, never located. To historians, it felt less like a city and more like a legend, an eastern echo of Atlantis. That uncertainty endured until the year 2000, when underwater archaeologist Frank Goddio and his team began mapping the seabed of Abu Qir Bay using advanced sonar and submersible technology. What emerged was not a ruin, not a single structure, but an entire city. When I stood aboard the research vessel, watching the first colossal statues rise slowly from the water, time seemed to hesitate. The statue of the god Hapi, over 5 meters tall, weighing more than 6 tons, emerged inch by inch. Water poured from carved stone faces, as if the sea itself was reluctant to let go. The details were astonishing. Despite centuries underwater, the fine carvings remained sharp. Hieroglyphs etched 2,500 years ago, still legible, still precise. Layer after layer of marine silt had acted as a seal, protecting the city from erosion, from human interference, from memory itself. Standing there, I felt something unexpected. Not triumph, not discovery, but humility. This was not a city destroyed by enemies, not burned, not conquered. So what happened? The answer came not from myth, but from data. Geological studies revealed a rare and devastating sequence of events. An earthquake struck the Nile Delta region. Then came soil liquefaction. The solid earth beneath Thonis Heracleion lost all strength. In a matter of hours, foundations failed. Buildings tilted. Temples collapsed inward. The city did not fall. It sank. Whole districts slid into the sea, as if the land itself had simply given up. No warning. No time to rebuild, no chance to recover. Alexandria took its place above the waves, while Thonis Heracleion was erased below them. When I think about that moment, I am struck by how fragile permanence truly is. This city stood for centuries. It connected civilizations. It shaped economies. And yet it took only a few hours for nature to reclaim everything. The sea does not negotiate. The earth does not remember, unless we choose to listen. And as we leave the submerged streets behind, one question lingers. If a city this important could disappear so completely, how many others lie waiting just beyond our awareness? Leaving the cold silence of the sea behind, we return to land, to heat, to dust, to an oasis that once pulsed with authority. Deep within the Fayum region, far from the familiar monuments of northern Egypt, there was once a capital that ruled quietly and decisively. Welcome to Itchitawi, around 1980 BCE, during Egypt's Middle Kingdom. This was not just a city, it was the center of power. Its name meant the one who seizes the two lands. Upper and Lower Egypt, unified under a single will. From here, kings governed, administrators planned, resources flowed with precision. And yet, there is something almost unbelievable about Itchitawi. No one knows exactly where it was. Not a ruin to walk through, not a gate to photograph, not a wall to trace with your hands. It vanished from the map so completely, it is as if it never existed. Standing near Lisht, where mud brick pyramids rise like eroded shadows, I began to understand why these structures were never meant to endure forever. They were built quickly, functionally, out of earth, not stone. Time does not forgive materials like that. Wind strips them, rain dissolves them, gravity presses them flat. What remains today are low grey mounds, almost indistinguishable from the desert itself. At ground level, Ichtawi feels lost, but archaeology no longer relies only on what we can see. Modern researchers turned to infrared satellite imaging. They stopped digging downward and began looking through the Earth. From space, beneath nearly 5 meters of accumulated silt, patterns emerged, dark lines, rectangular outlines, grids, the skeletal remains of streets, houses, administrative buildings, palaces. An entire city, outlined in shadow, just beneath the surface. It was never destroyed. No burn layers, no weapons, no mass graves. Ichtawi did not fall to invaders. It was abandoned. And the reason was water, the Nile. For ancient Egypt, the Nile was not simply a river, it was a system, a calendar, a lifeline. Over time, the river shifted, slowly, invisibly, but decisively. As the Nile's channels moved eastward, water receded, fields dried, transport routes failed. The capital, once perfectly positioned, found itself stranded, and when water left, people followed. Administration relocated. Power moved north. New centers rose elsewhere. What was left behind was emptiness. A capital without courtiers, streets without footsteps, palaces without voices. The desert does not rush, it waits. Grain by grain, sand reclaimed walls, dust softened edges, memory thinned. Within generations, Ichtawi slipped from collective awareness. No dramatic collapse, no final battle, no single moment of loss. Just quiet abandonment. Standing there, I felt a different kind of awe. Not the awe of scale, like Giza, not the awe of spectacle, but the awe of impermanence. If you have ever watched Indiana Jones, the name Tanis may sound familiar, but the real Tanis is stranger than fiction. When I first walked into the ruins of Tanis in Egypt's northeastern delta, my reaction was not wonder. It was confusion. Towering statues of pharaohs stand scattered across the site. Massive obelisks lie broken, half-buried. Columns of finely carved granite rise from flat marshland, as if dropped there by mistake. Something feels wrong. These monuments are monumental, but they do not belong here. And they don't. Almost every major stone block at Tanis was taken, removed, reused. Stripped from another city, dozens of miles away. A city called Pi-Ramesses, once the glorious capital of Ramses the Great. When the Nile shifted, later pharaohs did not abandon their heritage. They dismantled it. Granite statues, obelisks, temple walls, all transported stone by stone and reassembled at Tanis. What you see here is not a city built from the ground up. It is a city assembled from memories, from borrowed greatness, from fragments of a vanished capital. Walking among its ruins, I felt as if I were inside a collage of time. Faces of pharaohs from different dynasties sharing the same courtyard, inscriptions that reference distant reigns, standing side by side. A city built from echoes, and yet history still had one more surprise hidden beneath its soil. In 1939, French archaeologist Pierre Montet made a discovery that should have rewritten everything. He uncovered intact royal tombs, undisturbed, unlooted. Inside, gold masks, silver coffins, jewelry of astonishing craftsmanship, the burial treasures of kings, as rich and refined as anything found in the Valley of the Kings. It was one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, and almost no one noticed. Because at that exact moment, the world was falling apart. World War II erupted, headlines shifted, attention vanished. The discovery at Tanis was buried again, not by sand, but by history itself. While Tutankhamun became a global icon, the kings of Tanis remained unknown, their masks just as beautiful, their tombs just as complete. But timing decided their fate. Tanis became history's overlooked heir. Standing there, I could not shake the feeling that Tanis was cursed by circumstance. Too late, too early, too quiet, when the world demanded noise. Even today, it sits in relative obscurity, overshadowed by Giza, by Luxor, by names that fit more neatly into narrative. But Tanis tells a different story, not of conquest, not of sudden collapse, but of reuse, of adaptation, of survival through rearrangement. It reminds us that history is not always written by those who build, but by those who are remembered. Tanis had everything: power, wealth, sacred ground. What it lacked was attention. And as I left the scattered statues behind, I wondered how many other truths lie hidden, not because they are gone, but because the world looked away at the wrong moment. Some cities disappear beneath sand, others beneath silence, and Tanis waits patiently in between. To understand Tanis, we have to reverse time, back to the year 1274 BCE, to the height of imperial ambition, to the reign of Rameses II. This was Egypt at full confidence, expanding, building, declaring permanence, and at the heart of that vision stood a city unlike anything before it. Rameses, a true supercity of the ancient world, spanning nearly 18 square kilometers, home to more than 100,000 people, palaces, military complexes, temples, workshops. A capital designed not just to govern, but to impress. Foreign envoys arrived here first. Allies, rivals, enemies. This was Egypt's statement to the world. Power lives here. The city earned a poetic name, the city of blue shimmer. Some called it the city of fish scales. Millions of blue-glazed faience tiles were used to coat rooftops, walls, and palace facades. Under the Egyptian sun, the city did not simply shine. It rippled. Light bounced across surfaces, as if architecture itself were alive, as if the city breathed with every passing hour. This was not just wealth. This was spectacle, carefully engineered awe. Standing here, a visitor would have known immediately who ruled this land. But cities, even magnificent ones, depend on systems, and Rameses depended on water. The Nile branch that fed it was its artery, its transport route, its agricultural lifeline. Around 1060 BCE, that artery failed. Sediment accumulated, channels shifted, the river retreated. What had once been a navigable waterway became unreliable, then shallow, then useless. Fields dried, harbors emptied, trade slowed. For most civilizations, this would have been the end. Decline, abandonment, ruins left to time. But Egypt chose a different response. A decision so audacious, it still feels almost impossible. They dismantled the city. Not symbolically, not partially, physically. Stone by stone, statue by statue, block by block. Colossal sculptures weighing hundreds of tons were dragged across more than 30 kilometers. Granite obelisks, temple columns, entire gateways, moved inland, reassembled, reborn. This was not migration, it was architectural reincarnation. Rameses was not destroyed, it was harvested. Its grandeur became raw material. and that material was carried north to build Tanis, which is why Tanis feels strange, why its monuments seem misplaced, why inscriptions speak of distant reigns. Because Tanis is Pi-Ramesses, wearing a new name. Meanwhile, the original city vanished. Once the stone was removed, nothing substantial remained. Mud brick foundations, packed earth, traces only visible from above. Today, Pi-Ramesses lies beneath green cornfields, quiet, unmarked, unvisited. A super city, reduced to soil. Standing in that landscape, it is difficult to reconcile. That beneath crops and irrigation canals once stood one of the most dazzling cities ever built. No war erased it, no invasion burned it. Logistics did, adaptation. A civilization choosing continuity over nostalgia. The Egyptians understood something profound. Cities are not sacred, systems are. When systems fail, you move. Even if it means unbuilding your greatest achievement, to preserve what matters most. There is something deeply unsettling about that choice, and something deeply intelligent. It challenges how we define loss. Was Pi-Ramesses destroyed, or was it transformed? Did it disappear, or did it survive in another form? As we step forward from this moment, from blue-glazed splendor to borrowed stone, the line between endings and continuations begins to blur. Because the next city we encounter will test that boundary even further. Some cities sink, some are abandoned, some are dismantled and carried forward, piece by piece. And with each one, the ancient world asks us the same question. What does it truly mean for a city to survive? Our final destination is also the strangest of all. Welcome to Akhetaten, also known as Amarna, a city born not from necessity, but from belief. In 1346 BCE, Pharaoh Akhenaten did something unprecedented. He rejected the gods of Egypt, all of them, a pantheon built over thousands of years, swept aside. In their place, he elevated a single deity, the Aten, the sun disk. This was not reform, it was revolution, religion, art, politics, all rewritten at once. And to make that break complete, Akhenaten did not reuse an old capital. He did not adapt an existing city. He built a new one, from nothing. In just 3 years, on untouched desert land, a capital rose. Palaces, temples, administrative quarters, homes for tens of thousands. Akhetaten was meant to be pure, uncontaminated by tradition, a city aligned directly with the rising sun. From the air, its layout feels deliberate, almost ceremonial. Wide avenues, open courtyards, buildings oriented to light. This was a city designed for visibility, for exposure, for worship without shadows. But beneath that brightness was a darker reality. Modern analysis of skeletal remains tells a grim story. More than 70% of the population died before the age of 35. Their bones show signs of extreme physical stress, malnutrition, chronic exhaustion. This was not a healthy city. It was a rushed one. Laborers worked relentlessly. Materials were moved without pause. Schedules ignored human limits. People gave their bodies to meet the pace of a king's vision. Akhetaten rose quickly because it consumed its builders. Standing among the ruins, that truth is difficult to ignore. This was not a city that grew organically. It was imposed, forced into existence by belief and authority. And when belief faltered, everything collapsed. When Akhenaten died, his revolution died with him. The old gods returned. The priesthood reclaimed power. The court moved away. Within 15 years, Akhetaten was abandoned. Not gradually, not reluctantly, immediately. People left homes behind. Workshops closed. Temples fell silent. The city was never adapted, never reused, never dismantled. It was simply walked away from. Today, the royal road stretches nearly 8 kilometers, empty and exposed. Walking along it, the silence feels unnatural. This is not the quiet of age, not the slow decay of time. It is the stillness of interruption. A dream ended mid-sentence. Walls stand where voices should be. Doorways open to nothing. Streets lead nowhere. I felt no sense of ruin here, only absence. Akhetaten did not die slowly. It stopped. A city that burned brightly and vanished just as fast. It forces an uncomfortable reflection. Belief can build cities, but belief alone cannot sustain them. When ideology outruns humanity, the cost is paid quietly by those whose names are never carved in stone. As I stood beneath the open sky, with the sun still rising over a city built to honor it, one thought lingered. Some cities disappear because nature overwhelms them, some because systems fail, some because power moves on, and some because they were never meant to last. Akhetaten remains as a frozen moment in time, a reminder that even the most radical visions must answer to human limits. And when they do not, the desert waits patiently to take everything back. 5 cities, 5 stories of rise and disappearance. Stone can be buried, walls can crumble, entire capitals can slip beneath sand or sea, but human ambition never truly vanishes. It waits, it adapts, it finds new ground. These cities were not failures. They were experiments, responses to belief, to environment, to power, to change. Some sank, some were abandoned, some were dismantled and carried forward, piece by piece. Each one reminds us that civilization is not defined by how long it lasts, but by what it dares to attempt. Thank you for taking this long journey with me, for listening patiently, for staying curious, for giving these forgotten places your attention. If you are drawn to deep historical mysteries, to stories that unfold slowly and ask more questions than they answer, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss anything extraordinary. Your support is what allows these journeys to continue, what makes it possible to keep searching, to keep listening, to keep telling the stories, history left behind. Until we meet again, may you stay well, stay thoughtful, and always carry a sense of wonder for the vast world beyond what we already know. Because somewhere, beneath dust, beneath water, beneath silence, another story is still waiting to be heard.